What if I told you that the world's smartest man proved that God must exist, and he did it in the most ingenious way possible? Chris Langan, renowned for his 200 IQ and standing on the shoulders of a millennium of theologians, has developed a logical proof of God's existence that challenges traditional atheist arguments. He built upon the work of St. Anselm of Canterbury, an 11th century Catholic bishop. Anselm, combining theology with cold hard logic, proposed that by definition, God is that with respect to which nothing greater is conceivable. But if God existed only as a concept, his greatness would be less than if he also existed in objective reality. So given the meaning of greatest, God must exist, not just conceptually, but objectively, and is therefore both conceptually and objectively real. While critics dismissed this as mere theological wordplay, Langan discovered something profound in this seemingly simple argument. Through reason alone, humans can now know that God exists with certainty, without needing to rely on the authority of Scripture or miracles. Christopher Langan, the man with a 200 IQ, uses an advanced version of the ontological argument to prove that God must exist based on reality's structure, and he came up with an ingenious theory called the Cognitive Theoretic Model of the Universe, CTMU, to define into existence a proof of God's existence based on logic and absolute truth. This proof defines God as the grounded source of all being, and therefore a logically necessary being for reality to exist. The first thing you've got to understand is the distinction between contingent and necessary existence. Many things in reality are contingent in some way upon something else, meaning that they depend on other causes for their having come into being. There is an imaginable world where this cup or this book or that light doesn't exist. But the very existence of contingent beings implies a necessary being, which must exist by its very nature. An infinite chain of contingent causes where A depends on B, depends on C, depends on D, can't explain itself. It's not a problem of temporal beginning, but logical self-origination. What explains the thing at the top of that chain? It can't be something that's contingent on something else, but something that is self-contingent, something that derives its existence from itself. Further, a necessary being is certainly unique because there is only one possible thing from which it can derive its substance, which is itself, and therefore it is the most general and powerful category of being. There is only one identity of reality, that through which everything exists, and that is a necessary being rather than being contingent on some other cause. It must exist by its very nature. It must be singular, unique. It cannot have parts, only aspects, because any division within it would necessarily interrupt its necessity. So it can't be material or divisible because things which are material or divisible require materiality or some greater whole in order for them to exist. It has to be beyond time and space because time and space themselves are not self-explanatory. It has to be eternal, unchanging, and apply equally to every part and aspect of reality. So the necessary being, their existence must be self-sustaining. And since there's nothing outside of reality on which reality can rely for its definition or description, that means that reality itself is that necessary being. So when we're talking about the being who must exist by its very nature, that is reality itself. It is logically necessary and therefore uncaused. It is self-creating, self-explaining, and self-sustaining, and is the source of existence in the natural world. So now, taking this point and applying it to the ontological argument, we'll realize that actually Anselm's logical form checks out. He says, God is that than which nothing greater can be conceived. A God that exists in reality is greater than one that exists only in the mind, and if we can conceive of God, therefore, God must exist in reality. This argument was parodied by, I guess, one of Anselm's friends, Gonio, who existed and lived at the same time as Anselm, and he parodied the ontological argument by suggesting that it could prove absurdities, like the existence of a perfect island. It's simple. The perfect island is that than which nothing greater can be conceived. An island that exists in reality is greater than one that exists only in the mind. And if we can conceive of a perfect island, then the perfect island must exist in reality. Nevertheless, his objection fails because it does not distinguish between necessary and contingent existence. The absurdity is that the properties of a perfect island are not defined, whereas God's properties are well defined in the CTMU as the identity of reality. Therefore, if you're defining the island as that than which nothing greater can be conceived, you are calling that island ultimate reality and therefore giving a sound logical basis for God's existence. Just like many of you might have seen in the Michael Knowles interview with Christopher Langan, he equates the CTMU's identity to that which God disclosed to Moses at the burning bush. He says, "You shall call me, I am that I am." I am identity itself. I am being. And every expression of existence derives its unique source from my being. I am the self-existent one from which everything arises. Once we've defined this logical identity as a necessary precondition for existence, we can then search this identity for its properties. And what Chris Langan found is that it aligns with descriptions of God in major religions, such as Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. This identity must, by definition, have omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence. God is all-powerful because that ultimate identity has complete self-configurative freedom. There's nothing outside of it from which it can determine its structure. It must be completely self-configuring and therefore all-powerful. It must be omniscient because it is also the ground and source of all knowledge. And the identity itself, the rules and structure of how reality constructs itself, must be all present because the laws and structure of reality are equally distributed to every part and aspect in the world. God is the source of all coherence, sustaining the universe's order and structure. So while the CTMU is certainly a rejection of atheism, it is just as much a rejection of infantile definitions of God, where people have this very naive view where God is just a physical being up in the clouds instead of being this ground and source of existence, like classical theologians have always thought of God. But nevertheless, this has gone over the heads of a lot of religious people, and it's actually a big problem to have a seriously distorted conception of God. Nevertheless, there's a certain sense in which God is anthropomorphic because God can enter into a direct relationship with us by our soul. So since we are made in the image and likeness of God, there is a mapping there, so we can, in potential, have a personal relationship with God. And so the CTMU proves the same God that is testified by personal religious experience. God communicates with humans in a language that they understand, has a plan for our lives, knows our inner feelings, and the existence of God can be proven in this kind of God if God is properly defined in the first place. So God is the ground and source of all existence and therefore a logically necessary being for reality to exist. God is the source of all existence in the natural world, as well as the source of all coherence in reality, sustaining the universe's order and structure. And the existence of God can be proven. So Langan's formulation of the ontological proof says that God, as the ultimate language of self-identification and thus the eternal essence of being, is ontological by nature, attributing existence to himself in all that he contains by identifying himself and all that he contains. So God, in the process of existence, is self-identifying. Now, what is an identity? Identity is that through which something exists. So God is that for whom essence and existence, the quality and act of being, are one and the same. God exists simply by attributing existence to himself. He is the self-existent one from which all other beings derive their existence. He is the eternal essence of being, and he exists by attributing existence to himself and all that he contains, by identifying himself and all that he contains. So God is truly the creator and sovereign of ultimate reality. And all of these advanced ideas are seamlessly accommodated by the CTMU's metaphysical framework. In short, the CTMU is not only a theory of reality, but a comprehensive proof of God. Therefore, it is the most powerful and general apologetic framework for defending the existence of God and whatever faith you happen to belong to. As Langan says, on behalf of all those who prefer to stand on a real ontology as opposed to these kind of half-baked arguments that you'll see from religious apologists, let God be praised. Let us use this argument. Let us put forth and defend the existence of God. Like King David said, he said, it is time to do something for the Lord because they have made null thy law. We need to be bold and we need to be forthcoming and say that, yes, we are not stupid, we are not naive for believing in God. In fact, quite the opposite. God is a necessary being and God must be praised. Let the light shine forth in the darkness. May the peace of our Father in heaven be upon you. Like and subscribe. Peace.